You ever look back at a moment and think, that was the second my life caught fire? For me, it wasn't the moment I caught my wife cheating. It wasn't the moment she screamed that it was my fault. It wasn't even the moment she weaponized a car like it was a missile and aimed it at the woman I was falling in love with. No, it was the moment I walked into my house, holding a bouquet of lilies, and found a stranger's sweaty back arching over the woman I once swore forever to. My name is Ryan. I'm 36. And this is the story of how I divorced my wife, survived her madness, and watched her get exactly what she deserved. I met Melanie, my ex-wife, when I was 28 and freshly promoted to a mid-level management position. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. We met online. Facebook, of all places. It started with a meme, turned into flirting, and before long, we were talking every day. Melanie was magnetic, beautiful, witty, and at first glance, grounded. I was cautious, though. I grew up with a mother who treated my dad like garbage, constant yelling, emotional games, manipulation. I swore I'd never fall into that kind of mess. But Melanie passed all the checks. No red flags. Not even yellow ones. So after 2 years of dating, we tied the knot. Simple ceremony. A few tears. Lots of laughter. The first year was decent. Comfortable. Safe. But by year 2, the cracks started to show. The fights were monthly at first. Loud. Emotional. Explosive. She had a temper, but she never broke things or got physical. Still, something had shifted. I offered therapy. She agreed once. The therapist didn't side with her during the session, and that was the end of that. After that, we slipped into a numb kind of rhythm. No major blow-ups. No major highs either. Just surviving side by side. I wasn't blind. I knew we were drifting. But I loved her. I really did. I believed that if we had once been great, we could get back there. But Melanie had other plans. I was out of state for work, some tech expo in Denver. It was supposed to last 4 days, but on day 3, our team was called back early due to a software crisis. I decided to use the moment to rekindle things. Surprise her. Be romantic. I grabbed her favorite flowers on the way home and didn't call ahead. I figured it'd be more meaningful that way. You know, spontaneous. Like the old days. When I opened the front door, the house was quiet. She was supposed to be home. I tiptoed through the living room, smiling, imagining her face when I surprised her. Instead, I opened the bedroom door and walked straight into a nightmare. There they were. A man on top of her. Moving. Her legs wrapped around him. Her eyes closed. And the worst part, the sounds. The sounds that told me she wasn't just cheating. She was enjoying it. The light from the hallway cast a sudden beam across the bed. That's when they both looked up. Eyes wide. Faces pale. Like 2 kids caught stealing from the cookie jar, only this was no innocent mistake. The man scrambled for his clothes, tripping over himself, mumbling an apology. He tried to push past me. I don't know what came over me. I grabbed him by the throat, not strangling, just holding. Then I slapped him. Once. Twice. It wasn't rage. It was surreal. I felt like I was watching someone else through glass. Then I let go, and he bolted. I never even learned his name. I turned back to Melanie. She was fumbling with her bra, trying to fix her hair, avoiding my eyes like I was some stranger who had just walked into her home. And then she said it. Why are you even back? Not sorry. Not please let me explain. Just that. Cold. Detached. Like I had ruined her moment. My fists clenched. I stepped toward her. I almost did something I'd regret forever. But I stopped. Barely. Instead, I just walked out, leaving the flowers on the floor, trampled and forgotten. I spent the night on my buddy Lucas's couch. When I told him what happened, he looked like he wanted to go back and slap the guy too. I didn't sleep much. Mostly stared at the ceiling and tried not to replay the moment over and over again in my head. Melanie didn't even try to call me. Instead, the next day, she started sending me texts that would make a 13-year-old troll blush. You were never enough for me. He was better than you in every way. I only stayed with you out of pity. Oh, and by the way, his size? Much better. I just sat there in silence, reading every message as it came in. Lucas, thank God for Lucas, told me to screenshot every single one. She'll unsend them, he said. He was right. 5 minutes later, all the messages were gone. Except I had them saved, timestamped, screenshotted, all nice and tidy for the divorce lawyer I was about to hire. See, at first, I was hesitant. Not because I wanted to stay. That ship had burned to ash. But because divorcing someone like Melanie meant war. She earned far less than me, and I was terrified of getting destroyed in court, alimony, property, everything. But those texts? Gold. I found a decent lawyer named Claire who took my case seriously. She didn't promise miracles, but she did say my chances looked a whole lot better with proof of infidelity. Melanie delayed her response to the divorce papers for a full month. On purpose. Classic psychological warfare. She wanted me to suffer. And every time she messaged me, it was clear. This is what you get for sneaking home. If you just agreed to an open relationship like I asked, this wouldn't have happened. You ruined what I had with him. She genuinely thought she was the victim. She wasn't even pretending otherwise. The divorce proceedings dragged on for months. Melanie fought every step of the way. She tried to pick fights over furniture, over the dog we didn't even own anymore, over nothing at all just to make me miserable. Meanwhile, I was trying to pull myself together. I'll admit it, I spiraled. A couple of one-night stands, too much whiskey, not enough sleep. But I eventually got tired of numbing the pain. I missed the old me. The guy who used to read, who cared about things beyond work and marriage drama. So one weekend, I found myself in a local bookstore. Fiction section. Just standing there, completely lost. That's when I met her. Her name was Claire. Yeah, same as my lawyer, weird coincidence, and she was standing next to me, browsing the same shelf. She had this calm energy, like she wasn't in a rush to be anywhere, and when I asked for sci-fi recommendations, she smiled like she'd been waiting to be asked that question all day. We talked for half an hour. About books. Series. Endings we loved. Endings we hated. She recommended a title I'd never heard of, and when I checked out, I walked out of that bookstore with something I hadn't carried in months, hope. We started seeing each other. Slowly at first. I was upfront about the divorce mess. She didn't flinch. Everyone is baggage, she said. Yours just happens to come with courtroom hearings. She was the calm in the storm I didn't know I needed. But Melanie wasn't done with her chaos. Oh no, she was just getting started. Claire and I had been together for 5 months at this point. 5 months of peace, of laughter, of late-night conversations about books, life, and dreams. It was still early, but I was starting to feel like I could breathe again. Like I had a second chance. That feeling died in a parking lot. We just finished brunch at a cozy little cafe, and were walking through the lot toward her car. It was a normal Saturday. Birds chirping. People milling around. Kids asking for ice cream. Then I heard it, the roar of an engine. Louder than it should have been. Closer than it should have been. I turned my head just in time to see a black SUV hurtling straight toward us. Time slowed. My instincts kicked in. I grabbed Claire's arm and yanked her backward, just as the car clipped her leg with a sickening crack. She screamed, a sound I never want to hear again, and crumpled to the ground. But it wasn't over. The SUV smashed into a nearby parked car, then reversed. For a second, the front of it was facing us again. And it accelerated. I dragged Claire between 2 cars just in time. The SUV barreled past, scraped paint, and screeched to a stop. Doors opened. Gasps echoed. And then I saw her. Melanie. My wife, technically still my wife, stepped out of the car like a scene from a horror movie. Disheveled. Wild-eyed. Barefoot. She was muttering under her breath, then suddenly shouted, "It hasn't even been a year, and you're already parading her around?" People surrounded her. One man physically held her back as she tried to lunge at us. Claire was sobbing on the pavement, clutching her leg. I didn't even have the capacity to feel rage. Just shock. And terror. My ex-wife had tried to kill my girlfriend. The cops came. So did the ambulance. Melanie was arrested on the spot. Claire was rushed to the ER with a fractured fibula and torn ligaments. It could have been so much worse. It should have been. I told Claire everything that night in the hospital. I expected her to ask for space. To walk away. Who wouldn't? But she just said, she's behind bars. I'm not scared of someone in handcuffs. The prosecutors were relentless. And thank God, because Melanie's stunt had been caught on multiple parking lot security cameras. Not just the hit. Not just the second attempt. But footage of her circling the block, watching us, calculating. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was premeditated. She was charged with attempted murder. The footage didn't lie. Melanie had driven past us once. Slowed down. Spotted us. Then circled the block and floored it, straight into Claire's leg. And then, she tried again. That was the part that made everyone in the courtroom freeze. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of rage. It was an execution plan. There were multiple charges: assault with a deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, attempted vehicular manslaughter. But the big one, the one that sealed her fate, was attempted murder. I had to sit in that courtroom and watch the woman I once loved pretend to cry. Her lawyer tried to paint her as mentally unstable, emotionally distraught, a victim of heartbreak. They said seeing me with someone else after 6 years of marriage had broken her. But the footage showed otherwise. And the jury wasn't buying it. Claire testified. She was calm, brave. Her crutches leaned against the stand as she described what happened. I testified too. Told the court everything from the moment I walked in on Melanie with another man to the day she tried to kill the woman I cared about. There were gasps when we described the second time the SUV lunged toward us. Melanie's face didn't move. When the verdict was read, I didn't breathe. Guilty. On all counts. And then came the sentence. 12 years. 12 years behind bars. No parole before 8. The judge said it was a miracle that Ms. Green survived the attack, and an even greater miracle that more people weren't injured. He emphasized that this wasn't just about jealousy, it was about endangering innocent lives in a public space. And just like that, the woman who'd torched my life with betrayal and hate was led away in cuffs. I wish I could say I felt triumphant, but I didn't. Not at first. I felt relieved. Like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for a year. Melanie still had to finish the divorce, remotely, from prison. Her lawyer handled most of it, and after what she'd done, she got nothing. No alimony. No split of assets. No leniency. The judge even wrote a statement saying her actions forfeited any equitable claim she might have had. And that, finally, felt like justice. Claire and I moved into a new place a few months later. We needed a clean start. I wanted every trace of my old life erased, every wall, every memory. Sometimes Claire jokes, I took one for the team so you could finally get free. I laugh, but there's a part of me that knows it's true. She saved me, not just from Melanie, but from the version of myself that was slowly dying in that toxic marriage. If you're still here, thanks for listening to my story. And if you're ever in a relationship where something feels off, don't wait until it turns into something unrecognizable. You deserve peace. You deserve safety. And you damn sure deserve someone who won't try to run your partner over with an SUV. Melanie thought she'd destroy me. But in the end, she handed me the keys to my freedom, one court hearing at a time.